What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, not sure where to start today, but look, we're still about a week away, or just over that, I guess, with the solar eclipse stuff. And I heard a letter this morning that Elias read on his show. And I guess the debate is, are we a little too soft on the kids, giving them basically the afternoon off so they don't have to be subjected to be told not to look up in the sky. And there's some schools that are actually making an event of this, but not public schools. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think let's give credit where credit is due, and let's give credit to, those members of the government who have been, I guess, overseeing the response, the reaction to the eclipse by shaking their beads and rattles. I have never seen this reaction from this government, this idea. And as you say, it's like, eclipse is coming. You dare not even look at it. You'll go blind. It's like medieval farmers, Henry. You're almost tempted to go out and rent yourself a wizard's costume, go down to the National Assembly and say, unless you repeal Bill 96, my invisible dragon will swallow the sun on April 8th. They probably buy it. This is how absolutely ridiculously stupid, crazy, scared they've been. This is a marvelous experience, and especially if you can get kids. And guess what? You know what? Kids aren't stupid. When you tell them don't look at the sun, as opposed to all those other times the kids look at the sun, which is like never. It is this marvelous experience. I don't know if you've ever sort of been through even a partial eclipse. It's crazy the way everything changes, the way the light changes, the sky changes. And if you got a chance to actually experience this in terms of an educational experience, it's funny to see today. Here's, Bernard Drinville, our education minister, saying, "Oh well, you know what? Yeah, we kind of were a little bit over the top. So we go back and do the activities that you were going to do." And it's so funny though, because typically, and God, this government does live up to its lowest expectations, its lowest stereotypes. It was only after an open letter was published by a couple of scientists in the Journal de Montreal saying, "Are you guys crazy? You know what you're doing? You're spreading fear. You're behaving like absolute idiots." Then all of a sudden, the government says, "Oh, well, it's the Montreal. We better watch out." So now he's turning around saying that it's okay, it's all cool. Go back to your activities. The schools are going to go to hell because they're absolutely terrified. They don't know whether to fish or cut bait. And listen, there's still 2 weeks till the eclipse, Aaron. This government could change its mind 6 or 7 times between now and then. So the fact is, if you're in a school that is going to offer you a chance to experience this, Tom, if you're not, it's a terrible, terrible loss. You have my sympathy. But my God, talk about, like you say, really bending over backwards in some sort of weird mother hen-like way, which is completely unnecessary. When I was growing up, we had eclipses left, right, and center. I covered actually a partial eclipse in Montreal. I think it was back in the 90s.
Did you go blind, Jim, because of that?
No, because I didn't look at the sun, Aaron. But here's the other thing that's really cool is what you do notice. First of all, there's the old trick where you put a pinhole on a piece of paper, you put the paper over another piece of paper, and you will see the entire eclipse as it's going on. But the other thing that I never realized is the way light is altered. I'm walking back to the office. The Gazette's newsroom was on St. Antoine back then, and this is the old planetarium up on St. Jacques, right? So I'm walking back, and the light is completely weird. And you look and you see, and everywhere there was an angle for a shadow, okay? In other words, there was a little eclipse going on. So in other words, you can see the shadow of my hand and the juncture between my fingers, there was a tiny little eclipsing sun in there. It was like the weirdest thing you ever saw, but it was absolutely glorious, and I'll remember it for the rest of my life. And it'll be that much more intense on April 8th, presuming it's not completely overcast. But all that said, thanks for scaring the poop out of everybody for no good reason, Legault government. But listen, this is what these guys do, and not just about the eclipse.
Yeah, it's kind of, the old expression, let cooler heads prevail. I mean, the idea here should have been, here's a perfect learning, and we said this at the time, right? It's a perfect learning opportunity for kids. Yeah. How often are you going to get to see this thing and explain to them, here's what's happening, here's why we don't look at the sun, here's how you can look at it. Yet the government, and the panic, and I don't know if this was brought on, Jim, by the school boards on their own taking this initiative, or whether the government sort of prodded them in this direction. Do we know?
I think it's kind of half and half because to a certain extent, there's a lot of, the school boards really feel, especially now with Drainville breathing down their neck. And remember, there are no school boards anymore. In the vast majority of cases, there are no school boards.
Right.
They are branch offices of the education ministry. So I think there was a certain amount of reticence there in terms of going on with this. But once again, this has never been seen before in Quebec. This kind of a reaction to a solar eclipse. But once again, and the last time we talked about this, I'll say the same thing. How often did Halloween get canceled because it was windy? This has happened. This has happened in Quebec. So I don't know. I think that's the scariest element here is that people, for whatever reasons, whether they're erring on the side of caution or whatever, are creating a sense of danger where there shouldn't be one. When in fact, kids should be enthusiastic about stuff like this, and they're getting precisely the wrong message from the powers that be.
I will bring up one point. I think we heard this when we first brought it up when it was announced. This is going back now a few weeks. Someone else saying, hey, you know what? It's different now from what it was when you were in school, because nowadays, if the kids were in school, even if they had been advised not to look up and everything was explained to them, that if one kid, even one child, for whatever reason decided to look up and had any kind of an issue, a parent would be chewing the teacher's head off so fast, they'd rather just say, you know what, we're not going to bother.
Well, you know what? Here's I think, to me, the best way to sidestep this is send it a letter, say, we're going to have these activities. If you are concerned that little Cedric is going to look and stare into the sun the way he is often wont to do, keep him home that day. But why should all the other kids, why should the possibility something may go wrong with one kid affect the other 99 who will be chomping at the bit for this experience?
I agree. I just wonder if we're living in a different time now. It's a lot easier for school.
We are.
Clearly we are. Just easier to send everybody home. Maybe we should ask this question when we come back. All right, let me move on from that and talk about, you say with nearly 20 months to go before the next Quebec election, anything can and will happen. Hey, Jim, what you mean?
Well, what do I mean? This is kind of because what happened is your interview on the corner booth with our mutual friend Philippe Fournier, the essence, the conclusion of that got picked up, and Mr. Fournier, who's a poll aggregator, in his spare time, his full-time job, he's an astrophysicist. I don't get to say that very often about people. But the thing is, he said with his projections, if it was held today, well, the CAQ would be like in fourth place. There'd be a majority PQ government, a liberal opposition, and the CAQ, I think, would even place behind Quebec Solidaire. But it's not going to happen. It's 20 months, and there's so much that can happen. And unless we forget, and I know people have really got their minds made up about these various characters, but François Legault has got 20 months to turn it around. Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon has got 20 months to blow it. And let's face it, you and I and our listeners know there are so many things in this province that can turn on a dime, not the least of which being the CAQ's most recent drop in popularity. Nobody saw that coming, or if they did, they certainly didn't happening so quickly and so precipitously. But there you are. So there's it's a long way to Tipperary, as they say. And it's on the one hand, it's kind of scary, but on the other, it's kind of exciting because this, as far as I'm concerned, is going to be yet another brand new page in Quebec's history that's being written with keeping this government, with having a new government, with the way I think Quebecers, their attitudes are going to change toward their government and what they expect from the government, I think will radically change between now and the 2026 election.
So I will mention that interview with Philippe J. Fournier. You can access it from the CJAD.com website if you want to see a long-term interview. I will ask you one other thing real quick. So we managed to have Jean-François Lisée on this past week. He said something that kind of surprised me, and then I realized, well, maybe it shouldn't have. We talked about who the provincial Liberals might have running or might be the new head. Mm-hmm. He seems 100%, I mean, in his mind, he believes Denis Coderre's a shoo-in for this.
Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Okay.
And don't forget, I mean, I've said this in the past as well, do not underestimate Jean-François Lisée's devious sense of fun. So, I'll just leave it there.
Well, guys, so I brought up Carl Blackburn because he's the most recent name mentioned, and he was like, no, it'll be Denis Coderre because, like so many people have suggested at the beginning, not because he's necessarily the best candidate, but because he brings the kind of attention to the race that no one else can. You don't buy that?
No,
Okay.
I don't think you because it's to a certain extent we're talking about it's like what's going to go wrong? Is it like an accident scene? No, I don't think that's the attention that the Liberals kind of want.
Okay.
But I would respectfully disagree with Mr. Lee. And plus, we don't know if Denny Coderre is going to run. So there you go.
All right. We shall see. Jim, thank you. Appreciate it.
Adama.